Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we want to start off with a series of guides, and today we want to take a look at the drag bat strategy, which means dragon and the bat spells. They're working really well together. I will show you guys exactly on how you guys can use them. This is going to be the army where I'm highlighting this is going to be the army which I'm using for the highlight video today. And it's not like a fancy one. This is the super simple version. Obviously, you could bring like wall breakers for your heroes if you want to, and all those good things. But today, we want to keep it simple. We want to keep the basics and explain those to you guys. So we have the ice golem. We can use that for the heroes or for the back end. We have the dragons, overall 11 from them, and then one archer, a couple of minions for the cleanup, and then obviously the 5 bats, the 4 freezes, and 2 rages. I'm most of the time going to use the blimp, but you can use the slammer as well. Let's take a look at the first attack. The first attack is going to be against a teaser base, which are pretty popular out there. So let's take a look at how exactly you can beat those. First off, identify where exactly the splash damage is located and try to take that out most of the time with your dragons. That's always kind of the main idea. But at the same time, you have kind of to think about how big of a threat every single splash damage is actually going to be. And we're talking about that in a second. But first off, we're going to use our heroes to kind of walk them in 2 different ways. On the bottom side, the queen is supposed to go inside to get the enemy royal champion, and if everything is working perfectly, the enemy sweeper. What this is going to do, this is going to allow our dragons a way easier path into the town hall. That's kind of key for this one. Meanwhile, our king is tanking at the bottom side, already out of your screen, and the royal champion can do her thing, try to get rid of the most of the wizard towers and everything. We took already out 2 wizard towers and 1 air expo. Those air expos are actually way more important than you guys might think, because this really high fire rate makes the expos a really big threat to the bats, even though it's a single point defense. But the high fire rate is actually kind of nuts when you're going into when you're facing the bats. But let's talk about the dragons first. The dragons are coming into the town hall, like I said, vulnerability early and everything, and I'm using always the blimp cannon to get the town hall down as quickly as possible. I'm using 5 loons and 1 dragon in there to make sure that this town hall is going down as fast as possible and can't deal any damage. The next thing is bats are coming in. We're using the ice golem on the outside to make sure that it's tanking. Now the next freeze for the back end wizard tower. We have still another freeze for the wizard tower, and then still 1 freeze for whatever we want to go for. Always make sure that you're having the biggest threat to your bats frozen. And that's always kind of the first things first. Multi-Inferno Tower, Scatter Shot, and Wizard Towers. Those are kind of the obvious ones. And if you can get, like I said, an Air Expo frozen as well, it's even better. The air defense is actually one of the lowest threats to your bats, because the fire rate of the air defense is that low. Even though it deals damage to air troops, but it's kind of like a heavy hitting air defense, which means it's shooting slowly, but a lot of damage, which means it's like the worst against bats, because, well, bats are there are a lot of bats, but they have like little amount of hit points. So this is kind of the key. This one was a huge overkill, and now we're doing something which I haven't done in a long time, and this is we're going to analyze the base after the attack is over, so I can explain exactly why I did what exactly to the base. I think, if you guys think this is helpful, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. I feel like, I want to start off like a strategy guide series, and this will be always kind of the format, like showing attacks, then like an analyst part, and then another attack. So make sure to stay tuned for the next attack. But now let's take a look at the first setup of the base, which are going to be the 5 wizard towers. All of them on the right side. So you guys might think, why didn't you go in from the right side? Like I said, it's always about how big of a threat this wizard tower is. There are actually 3 wizard towers out there, which I can easily tank, for example, with an ice golem. So why should I take them actually as a big threat to my bats? So those are not the best. Like, why should I go for them with my dragons? Because it's not that important to get them. So what we have to think about is the other threats to our bats, which are mainly scatter shots, the enemy town hall. For example, your town hall is like the enemy town is really strong against bats, obviously, as soon as it's activated. So we need to somehow take care of the left side. So why exactly did I Sui my heroes at the bottom side? I choose my queen to kind of go inside because she would be able to get the enemy sweeper and the enemy royal champion. Both were threats to my dragons. Why exactly did I only send in my my queen over there, not the king, or like the king to walk to the other side? Because I had, or I was scared of my king actually luring the enemy clan castle. That's another thing which you always need to be careful of. You do not want to lure the clan castle with your heroes. That's pretty important. So when you're now taking a look at all of those wizard towers and the left side is taken out. We took already out 2 wizard towers with our heroes, and then we're going one by one into the different wizard towers, freezing the first one, making sure the second one is frozen with the ice golem, and tanking the air expo as well, which is like 2 threats to our bats are like useless at this point, and then just keep freezing the back end. And this is how we can easily kind of step through everything when you're doing those drag bat attacks. It's a kind of strategic strategy, like not as simple as a couple of others. The execution is pretty simple, but not like the thinking behind it. You have to get creative to make sure that you're having your freezes and your bats and everything. Most of the time you try to not use your freezes for the dragons, which is kind of important. So you need to make sure that you're creating this pathing with your heroes, and then obviously you need to get the value. Wizard towers and air defenses are one of the biggest things you can get with your heroes. If you could get a scatter, obviously, or like a multi-inferno tower, things like that, those are great as well. What I would say is let's jump into the next attack, and we have another base. And on this base, it's once again a lot of air expos, actually 2, which are actually a lot right now. And we don't have any wall breakers, but we want to get into the compartment in front of the multi-inferno tower. So what do we have to do for that? We need to get creative. So what we're doing over here, I'm trying to get rid of all of the surrounding buildings from the top side to make sure that I can deploy my king in front of the double cannon to make sure that he's actually beating through that wall, and then I can place my queen in behind. King is beating through that wall, kind of working as a wall breaker in that sense. And so we got kind of creative to make sure that our queen is actually going inside. And as soon as she's going inside, we can get rid of the enemy king, enemy multi-inferno tower, and air defense. Those are like really big threats to our dragons or bats later on. So far so good. Heroes are taking out what they are supposed to take out. Air defense is barely going down, but hey, we managed to get it. Now the next phase for us is get the dragons in, and those dragons are meant to go into the eagle as fast as possible, and then obviously taking out as much splash as possible. The next thing which I'm going to go for is vulnerability in combination with the blimp. Blimp is going for the town hall, raging it up over there. Town hall's going to go down. Now the ice golem and the royal champion, and that's something which is pretty important. You do not always have to use your royal champion with the heroes, or like with the king and queen together. Sometimes you can just save the royal champion for the back end, just to make sure that you're getting a couple of those wizard towers on the back end out of the way, and you have less freezes to spend. Over here I'm using a couple of freezes on the first wizard tower. The second wizard tower is getting taken out by my royal champion, and this means only this scattershot is still alive to somehow defend this attack, but this should be an easy peasy triple. So once again, let's figure out what exactly I did and why I did it, and then let's end this episode. But for now, let's speed through the rest of this attack and get into the analysis, because this base is completely wrecked. The bats are trying to take out the storages, but most of the time it takes some time because, well, bats are doing less damage to storages. And one important thing is the town hall is a storage as well, so you never want to have your bats onto the enemy town hall. That's pretty important. But like I said, let's get into the analysis part and let's see what exactly we come up with and why I attack this base like I did, because as you guys can see, this is a triple. So this is the entirety of the base in the beginning before we completely smashed it. So let's figure out once again the wizard towers. Let's mark once again all of the wizard towers. We have 3 of them on the right side. We have 2 of them on the left side. That's all of the 5 wizard towers. So let's get to the next threat of the bats and later on the dragons obviously as well. The next thing is like multi-inferno tower and scattershot, and then the scattershot at the bottom side. Those are kind of the main threats to the bats. which we want to take out if it's possible with our dragons. So as you guys can see, most of those threats are on the left side, and if we can send our dragons from the left side and push them somehow to the bottom, then we have only 3 wizard towers left, and we can take out at least one of them with our royal champion. So the idea was, well, how do we actually accomplish this pathing of the dragons? And what we had to do for that was actually kind of simple. We had to somehow clear the top side to make sure that our dragons are actually pushing to the bottom, because otherwise they would have spread way too much, because we want to send them in from the left, going to the bottom to the second scatter shot. Both of them are supposed to go down, and if they're going down, we have, like I said, only 3 wizard towers to the back end, which are not that much. So we need to take out this. Obviously, we could have come from the bottom side as well, but then we have the sweeper against us, and this is why this is kind of the best way to approach this base. But still, this is really important. Like I said, make sure that you're being creative, being smart with your heroes, and obviously with the ice golem. Sometimes you want to use the ice golem for the heroes, just for the additional tanking, but if you have wizard towers on the outside, just go for the tanking of that wizard tower with your ice golem. Make sure that the timing is right. And if you want to train something which is kind of execution wise important on this attack, is try to train the timing of the freezes for the bats, because the wizard tower is always like trying to load up and then shoot. And well, if you know this timing, you can always save a couple of seconds, which in the end is really getting a lot. So I hope you guys like this small guide for the drag bat. Let me guys know how you like this attack into analysis part. And well, if you guys liked it, make sure to like the video, and we will see you guys back tomorrow. Until then, see ya and bye bye.